6 o'clock. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, City Hall Commission Chamber, Wednesday, February 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Have a roll call, please.
Mark Hom.
Here.
Mark Cotton.
Here.
Nate Chauncey Basha. Dave Westby.
Here.
Evan Rodrigo. Here. Dave Matthews. Henry Paulson.
Here. Okay. Do you have additions, deletions, reordering, and approval of the agenda? So any additions, deletions, reordering?
No.
Okay. To approve the agenda,
Pledge of Allegiance.
approval minutes? No, pledge of allegiance. Yeah. Should we do the, I guess, pledge of allegiance? Let's get that in first, okay? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, since there's no additions, deletions, or reordering, to approve the agenda,
Mr. Chair, approve the minutes.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So unanimous there. At this time, we'd like to swear in the staff and applicants if you're going to speak tonight on any of the issues that are relevant to this meeting. Ms. Cole.
Stand and raise your right hand. You swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, besides the yes.
Okay. Do we have a proof of publication of 128 South F Street and 202 South Dixie Highway? Yes, we do. Okay. Any withdrawals and postponements? No. Okay. Board disclosure. Does anybody have anything to disclose?
Yes, I have one. In the past, I've used West Blackman for business, but regarding this item, we have had no discussion during it.
That's fine. That should be okay. All right. Anyone else? Anybody else use West Blackman?
Everybody knows West Blackman.
Okay. All right. So, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business, guys?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now on to the new business, PZB project number 24-124-00001, an appeal of the development review official's decision regarding expansion of an outdoor storage area at 128 South F Street pursuant to, but not limited to sections 23-2-8, and 23.4-19 and 23.1-8 of the land development regulations. The subject site is zoned artisanal industrial, as we all know, and has a future land use designated of transit-oriented development. Would the staff like to enlighten us with what the happenings are here?
Yeah, but before we do, we'd like to go over procedure,
Okay.
since this is an appeal. So I'm going to go ahead and guide you on the steps. Then we're going to begin with disclosure of ex parte, presentation by city staff, presentation by the appealing party, presentation by applicant if not the appealing party, questions by the decision-making body, closing of the hearing, and then deliberation, and then the action taken by the decision-making body.
No, we think not. Again, it's an appeal, so it's based on the record below.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. For the record, Scott Rodriguez with Planning and Zoning. The item before you is a request for consideration of an appeal of the development review official's decision regarding the expansion of outdoor storage areas at 128 South F Street. The subject site is zoned artisanal industrial with a future land use of transit-oriented development. The subject site is located on the northeast corner of South F Street and 2nd Avenue South, and is again within the AI zoning district. This is a brief property history from site plan approval in 2004, the construction of the building, and the business license activity since 2007 at this location. Here's the approved site plan and highlighted the laydown area, which has been approved as the outdoor storage area. And we're going to zoom in on this section. This area is approximately 384 square feet and is the only area that was approved to have the outdoor storage. So the next few slides we're going to show the marble and granite stored beyond the approved outdoor storage area with the street views and the aerial views. So new outdoor storage is only allowed in industrial park of commerce zoning district accessory to a principal use. The subject site is AI, artisanal industrial, where outdoor storage is prohibited. The existing outdoor storage area is non-conforming and can continue to be used as outdoor storage per the 2004 site plan. The 2004 site plan was approved with a defined outdoor storage area. Again, the subject site is located in AI where the outdoor storage is prohibited. New outdoor storage can be accommodated within buildings subject to LDRs, or it can continue to remain where it was approved. The staff recommends the board interpret applicable LDRs in a manner consistent with the DRO's decision. And here are the motions to consider. And that concludes my presentation.
So shall we hear from the applicant?
Perfect, yes. Okay, good evening. My name is Wes Blackman. Many of you know me. I'm with CWB Associates. I'm a senior principal planner and owner of CWB Associates. Certified many years, have lived in Lake Worth Beach since 1992. And I was on the Planning and Zoning Board for many years and Historic Preservation Board. Tonight, I'm representing S&D Land LLC, the property owner in Patrona Marble and Granite. They are the business that is on the property. And what I put in front of you this evening is the application for an appeal of the determination by the DRO. And that really is the first bookend, which helps explain the response from the city and the letter generated from the staff based on that application. If you read through the application, you will see that we never ask for the expansion of outdoor storage because it is our assertion that it has existed since the business has been in operation. And likewise, there are 11 letters notarized because we thought it was an imposition to have 11 people or entities come here and represent themselves tonight at the meeting. But they are notarized and they talk about their experience with the property since 2007. Patrona Marble and Granite, Dave Patrona is here and his son Chris is here. Family business, Nick also works for the company. They've been in business since the 1990s. They have owned the property since 2004, and they got the site plan approval and the approval for the 2,800 square foot warehouse and the parking area that we're going to be talking about tonight. I tell you when to turn the slides? Okay. So next slide, please. I'd just like to walk you around the property if you haven't seen it. This is in the 100 block of South F. It's the northeast corner of 2nd Avenue South and South F Street. The address is 128. And this is looking east from South F Street. And you can see a adaptive reuse of a manufactured home from just the immediate post-war era. This is not in a historic district, but it's interesting to note that they have used an existing residential structure for their business. You can see an ADA ramp leading up, and it presents a residential appearance to the east and to the residential neighborhood. Next, please. This is the northwest corner of the property. They have an ADA space there. This is for customer parking. And again, this has been around since 2007. And then employee parking. There are a total of 13 spaces, parking spaces on the property. 3 are off South F Street. Next, please. This is looking northeast from the corner of 2nd Avenue South and South F Street. You can see the corner of their property there. That's a detention area for runoff, and that shows up on the site plan as well. And the storage area, you can just see the top of the building that was approved in 2004, the 2,800 square foot building where they have their marble business. Next. This is looking northwest from just the edge of the alley by the Benziton Center, which is immediately southeast of this property. And you can see that this is the parking area. You can see the warehouse behind it. You can also see that the fence is screened, and it really is impossible to see the parking area with the screened fence like that. Next, please. This is along the alley. This is looking southwest. Again, you can see the screening on the fencing, and it's impossible to see inside the property. Next. And then this is the east side of that 2,800 square foot building that was approved in 2004. Next, please. Okay, this is where we have a disagreement with staff. They're putting words in our mouth, I think. The applicant, Wes Blackman, who I am, on behalf of Petrona Marble and Granite, is appealing a decision of the city's development review official denying the request to expand outdoor storage areas at 128 South F Street. Again, we have never asserted in the application or any communication with the city that we are expanding the outdoor storage area. There are no physical changes that are planned. And if that has been a misunderstanding, it could be a misunderstanding by board members and the public. We want to make sure that that's not the case. Click, please. And that's basically what I said in red there. This is a request to appeal a decision from the development review official that insists it is a request to expand the outdoor storage area. It is a long-standing use of the property that is memorialized in the site plan of record, and the current definition as it appears in the LDRs right now, today, 2024, for storage outdoor. Next. This is the copy of the application that was at the dais today when you arrived. That last page talks about the difference between the number of parking spaces on the property and what was required back in 2004. There are 13 parking spaces on the property. Today, the requirement is 5. There are 2 handicap spaces too, and you saw the ramp on the east side of the building too. Next, please. The top paragraph underlined portion there is directly from the code, and it talks about the appeal process. The determination, what we asked for was staff to indicate that this is an existing non-conforming use and could continue. That's all that we asked for. And we got a letter in response to a request that we did not make that they said that we were expanding the outdoor storage area, and that's not our interpretation. The other thing that the code says there, and it's the last part of the underlined section, is that unless it is appealed by the Planning and Zoning Board, or unless it is overturned by the Planning and Zoning Board. I'm not sure of the exact wording, but essentially it lays out that you're completely in your right to overturn the staff determination. Next. And that's just more of what I've already said. Next. And this is the application. Next. Okay. In the recommendation, the staff likes to be officious and call out sections of the code, but they don't tell you what those sections are. So I'm going to tell you what those sections are. Section 23.2-8 gives you a lot of latitude to hear, decide appeals where it is alleged there is error of any order, interpretation, requirement, decision, or determination made by an administrative official in the enforcement of this chapter, or any ordinance adopted pursuant thereto. In hearing appeals, the board may, in conformity with the provisions of these LDRs, reverse or affirm wholly or partly, or may modify the order, requirement, decisions, interpretation appealed from, and may take such order, requirement, decision, or interpretation as ought to be made, and to the end shall have all powers of the officer from whom the appeal is taken. Appeals will be held on the record made in the proceeding below. So you have a lot of power. Next. Outdoor storage and open air operations is 23.4-19. And we acknowledge this. Open storage is permitted in IPOC, which is the Industrial Park of Commerce District. This is not the Industrial Park of Commerce District. We know that. This is the Artisanal Industrial District. Before it was the Artisanal Industrial District in 2013, it was the low to high traffic generating industrial district. And that's how it was originally approved in 2004. Next. Next, please. Okay. And the staff cites section 23-1-8 rules of construction, and I wonder why, because I read it about 10 times and I don't know why they cited that section of the code. Next. All right, today on Unicode, you can go to section 23-1-12 definitions, and you look under storage-outdoor, and it reads, the storage of construction material, mechanical equipment, and commercial vehicles used by building trades and services or associated with other permitted industrial uses. This is a permitted industrial use. It has an existing approval. And my reading of this definition is that construction material, mechanical equipment, and commercial vehicles are equal. And they are considered outdoor storage. Next, please. This is the site plan of record that the city has in the file. This is from 2004, and you can see the abundance of parking on the area. Parking is not an issue here. If anything, it is overparked. And it shows the material laydown area that the staff feels is very important. Next. Now, these are 9 commercial vehicles, and according to the staff, we can use the parking area and we can park them full of vehicles, and those are commercial vehicles. And is that better than marble slabs? And that's what is at issue here. Next. Google Earth is an amazing gift to mankind. And this is an aerial from 2005. This is before the site plan before the building was built and immediately after the site plan was approved in 2004. And you can see how the property looked at the time. At the corner, there was a two-story building that, an industrial building that Dave can talk about if he wants to, was associated with Meisner's shop, and they provided some trim and other architectural pieces for Palm Beach. But that was torn down to make way for the detention area. And then you can see where the warehouse, the 2,800 square foot warehouse, ended up in that parking area. But that's just kind of to give you an orientation. That is not today. That is from 2005. Next. All right. Under property history, this is in the staff report. And we were all sworn in tonight. According to the property appraiser's aerials, it appears that the outdoor storage area began to expand beyond the approved 2004 site plan within parking spaces between 2012 and 2014. And I don't know how they determined that. Next. If you go to the property appraiser's website, and it has just changed, maybe that's part of the issue, but you see in the red box there in the corner, we have years stretching from 2023 to 20, is that 16? 15? Okay. So I don't know where 2012 and 2014 are, but this is the aerial from 2023. And if you see the white roofed portion of the property there, the southwest corner, that was a pergola that was put up. And part of the code enforcement action in May identified that as being put up without a permit, along with a fence. And there were some other items identified at the time. That has since been removed. The reason for it is that it was sheltering softer material, marble, and protecting it from weather conditions. But in order to comply with the city's requirements and not go through a minor site plan process, which is anything but minor, they removed the fence that was put in without a permit, and they also removed the pergola. So we do not have a current minor site plan application. We don't need one. The only outstanding issue is why we're here tonight. Next. Okay, and this is from 2015, and you see the area being used for marble slabs and not for vehicles, which according to the current definition, storage outdoor are equivalent. Next. This is Google Earth view from 2016. This is now 8 years ago. Next. And 2015, 9 years ago. Next. Now with Google Earth, if you play around with the pro version, you can, dial in your years, and there are some that are not of, they're blurry and don't have they're pixelated. So you kind of have to take the years that are clear in order for a presentation like this. So the next one was 2011. And you can see the slabs. There are some cars being parked there, but slabs in that parking area. Next. And here it is from 2010. Again, we have the slabs in the parking area. Next. And from 2009, the same. And this was just a dialogue that we were trying to engage in staff about constructing a structure versus a building. Staff wanted a building. We thought a structure would be fine. There's a fine distinction between the two. We don't want to talk about that tonight. We just want to deal with the outdoor storage issue and get on with life. So next. So the summary and documentation, this again is not a request to expand the outdoor storage space. It addresses the last outstanding item on the code compliance case number 23883, and then the business tax receipt can be issued. The existing parking area was approved in 2004. Definition of storage outdoor includes commercial vehicles and construction materials would be marble. Aerial photographic evidence shows the area was used in the same manner since at least 2009. And you have 11 notarized letters from customers and suppliers testifying that the marble and granite storage in the same place area since opening at this location in 2007. And I also have in my bag, which I will get, no, they're actually right here. These are pictures of other artisanal industrial zone properties, and we don't want to have this be a whataboutism thing, but just there are other properties that are much worse offenders than this property could ever be. I would say that this is the best one on the block. But I just want to distribute this, and I'm not going to call them out by name or anything. But
We would object to that. That's beyond the purpose of this appeal. It's this property. If it's saying this car was speeding and I was an officer, don't pull me over, pull them
Okay.
over. It's irrelevant what other properties may be doing.
all right, but the city could give this to the code compliance officer, and I think they would be interested in that. So I'll save that for later. Okay. So if you have any questions, the owner is here. We do have the architect that also prepared the minor site plan application, and we can answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Anything from the board?
I got one question. Prior to this being zoned AI, was outdoor storage allowed? No.
Well, this has an approval from 2004, and at that time, the zoning district was low to heavy industrial. The code changed for artisanal industrial in 2013. It was rezoned. However, again, they've had an approved site plan since 2004 with a dedicated outdoor storage area.
I'd like to know what triggered all of this action on this property.
Code enforcement. May 2023 is when the violations occurred, and
Understand?
we're
And if I could, Mr. Chair, and usually, I'm new to this, and from Adeline, apologize, but what it seems as if, they had a site plan approved for 384 square feet of outdoor storage, and at some point they started increasing, from those photos, it looked like it increased more and more as time went on. 2011, there was very little. By 2018, there's a lot more. They kind of got away with it. They got caught, and now they're saying, wait a minute, we should be allowed to use as much as we want and ignore the site plan that was approved. That's my observation
That's-
from
That's
90,000
not quite how,
feet.
and I'm sorry, I know we have a format to go through, and I know that these are pretty critical. So we've had the staff presentation. Did we finish with the applicant presentation? There was another gentleman, it looked like
I was about to respond to that.
I know, and I'm trying to, I know I've been through these myself before, and I know it can get kind of back and forth and get all over the place. Are we at the board? Because we have a period for
Sorry
board
about that.
questions, and I know you guys made a presentation, they made a presentation. I don't want.
we are at the questions by the decision-making body step.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, you were not with the applicant, West behind you. Sorry, this gentleman. Yeah, you were coming up to the podium, and I just wanted, we don't have public comment.
He can wait. We'll go with the process here. If it's your time.
No, that's my point.
Wes, if he has something to say, he needs to say it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because now we're at the step for discussion.
that was my point. The city made a presentation, applicant finishes theirs, then we ask questions. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm here tonight in support of this request for appeal. My name is Kirk Stetson. I'm the architect of record for the original development. I'm a resident of Lake Worth Beach at 330 South Lakeside Drive. I've read the industrial artisanal industrial description and intent. In my professional opinion, this exemplifies that intent. The Petronas took a single-family residence and turned that into a business office, retaining the vernacular character of this mixed-use neighborhood, so on South F Street. They enhanced the landscaping on the street side, constructed a fabrication shop on the back of the property, which is on bordering the FEC Railway, and improved the off-street parking with 13 spaces. The site plan that I submitted and was approved had a defined laydown or outdoor storage area. Adjacent to the parking area extension, where those slabs are currently shown, was undefined. And in my opinion, it's an L shape, and it was also part of that laydown storage area. This business is not a medium or heavy industrial usage. It's a family business. It's a business of marble craftsmen. They personally fabricated a number of pieces for me, ranging from conference tables to bars to coffee tables. And I am just strongly urging you to support this appeal. Thank you. Thank you.
So sorry for interrupting, but now I think we're on to board comments and how we can ask comments, but we don't want to, we want to avoid back and forth between the applicant and
I understand.
staff.
Understand it. All right.
We can ask questions and get answered.
So, Mr. Blackman. So I do understand what's going on. I think so the rest of the board probably does at this point as well. I actually kind of disagree with what you're saying about the cars and the storage being the same thing. Okay. They can exist sort of in the same area, but they're mutually very different. A parking space is a parking space and storage is storage, right? It's a piece, but that doesn't mean that the applicant couldn't apply. If you're saying that they only need 5 spaces and they have 13 on the original plan, I don't understand why they don't apply for the L-shaped piece that he's talking about to remove the other pieces, right? There probably is, and the question is, I saw that here on the LDRs, it basically says that nothing in the front of the structure, which I believe is pretty covered up. Is that correct?
There are 2 structures on the property. Are you talking about the office building or the warehouse?
I'm talking about in front of the warehouse, which seems to have frontage as well, because that's where all of the slabs of marble are in question.
Okay.
Okay.
The parking area that is immediately south of the warehouse has 9 regular parking spaces
And 2
and 1
handicap.
ADA space.
Okay.
And what the city is grabbing onto one piece of paper from 2004 saying that there was wording that said material laydown area.
I understand.
And so they're finding that very important. But
Understand.
over time, since the site plan was approved in 2004,
Mhm.
the building hit the ground running in 2007, and the business has been running, and the business has been going there. And part of the backup in your packet also included visits by code enforcement during that time in 2016 and 2018, finding no violations
Understand.
and not making this an issue.
Okay. So that's all I needed to know. Thank
Okay.
you. I have something for the staff. Do we have something of the plan? The original plan shows the parking spaces where we have some of the marble and the granite slabs. Is that how it's set up? Are they on top of it, or how does that work?
No, the approved plan that is on the screen is showing the defined areas as parking spaces
Right.
and the laydown area that's highlighted in red.
So basically, it has encroached into the parking somehow.
Yes.
Could this be resolved in some way that they would follow the new zoning that would basically get a new site plan to get rid, basically give them, if they need only 5, is there a way that they can apply for that and have 5 spaces?
For outdoor storage, which that's prohibited? No, I mean, that's,
And it is prohibited because it's in the light in the sight line of the front.
there's an option for, some
I'm trying to
So-
ask if they could reorganize their parking to put their storage in a different place, right? So
The storage would have to be enclosed though.
I understand.
And that's what we have discussed with the applicant.
Mhm.
They did, I believe they considered that option, but this is where we're at right now.
You're right here. Okay, so this is where the trifecta is.
It's because of code change.
I understand.
Yeah.
I-
right.
I-
No, I'm making.
The
it
zoning,
my
yeah.
fault too. It's
Yeah,
because
the
of-
zoning change,
Yeah.
right? So, but at the same time, we did have a site plan and those items are on the site plan. Okay. Well, any other questions?
Sorry, I do have a couple of questions. So, I do see, reading both the letter from the DRO as well as the original letter from Mr. Blackman requesting from the DRO, it does seem clear that his request is to determine whether or not this was an existing non-conforming use. And I don't see anything in writing from the city back to him, nor have I heard any testimony from anyone from the city with regards to that. So just because it was approved in 2004, if they expanded that use in 2005, but it was legal and allowed to do, it would then carry as a non-conforming use, is my understanding of the argument. Has the staff looked at that to determine and responded to the applicant that this is not a non-conforming use and provided an answer as to why?
So it would be my understanding that if they were to expand that, they would have had to amend the site plan to reflect that, which did not occur.
Even if it was zoned heavy industrial and that heavy industrial allowed for outdoor storage consistent with the definitions at that time?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would have to be, our understanding of expansion would have included those, amendment to the site plan. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have a good answer for that, but I know that the code had changed, the zoning districts for where outdoor storage could be allowed.
Yeah, I guess the scenario that I'm looking at or that I'm considering and that I think we have to consider is whether or not when the applicant made the change, whether or not that would have been considered a violation at that time. And if that happened in 2005, and if what was defined as outdoor storage was, as the definition was presented to us here, at least the parking of commercial vehicles, storage of materials, all that is defined as outdoor storage. You have an enclosed parking lot that, from what I can tell, that lot is, again, I'm going off of pictures, so maybe this is a question for the applicant. Is that gate open to where your customers park inside there? Has that ever been, or is that like employee parking and purely an employee area?
It's employee and deliveries, suppliers, and the customer parking is off of South F.
Okay. So if you've got an industrial use where you're parking your vehicles, your delivery trucks, you're shipping and receiving and handling materials, and if all of that is defined the same under the code back in 2005, and that's when they started using it, again, it's one of those things when you've got something that's been going on for, 15 years here in the city, and then we change the code at some point and we come back and say, we didn't apply for this. And you say, well, when I did it, I didn't need to apply. That's what I'm trying to sort through. And because we don't have an official statement from the city saying we have reviewed this and when it was done, it would not have been considered or conforming at that time because you would have had to apply for this and you would have had to do all these extra steps. It's tough to say that 100% they were in the wrong when they did it.
So then if we're going down that road, then I think you need to consider, like our city attorney mentioned, that there was continual, based on the aerials that, Wes provided as well as staff, there was continual expansion of that area. So then you would have to consider, are we now tagging it to 2013 and anything beyond there is an expansion, that just kind of keeps opening up more questions than if you're going down that line.
I agree with that. And especially since the applicant is arguing that code enforcement visits in 2015, 2016 yielded no violations. These aerials are one moment in time. There could have been expansion and contraction. So we don't know that. So not to interrupt your line, but I give basically no weight to the aerials. What I do give weight to is the fact that the site plan says, here's the material laydown area. And it's not, this is what they applied for. The code changed again, but the code change didn't put them out of compliance. Them putting the marble outside of that red box
Yeah.
initially put them out of compliance.
Right.
That's my thinking.
Yeah.
That's just my impression. So
And
I wanted to
think
throw that out.
Along the same, so along the same lines, if it was an expansion, it was allowed, maybe they should have basically applied for another site plan amendment. That's what I think at that time, if it was allowed. And then it would have gone through the process. We have a process to get these things approved and to push it through. Now, I go back to the question of, yes, these things are allowed in that front area, but a parking spot is a parking spot and storage is storage, and that's why they're labeled as such. And I don't think that you could just basically take it and say, well, because it's in one paragraph of the code, you could just slobber them from one place to another. There's very specific things on the plan. So that's.
Excuse me, may I say just a few words, just a minute?
So to come up to the.
Okay, my name is Dave Petrona,
Mhm.
128 South F. I'm one of the owners.
Okay.
Here's what I want to say. When I got these violations, we went and we talked to Mr. Fogel.
Okay.
Okay? He says to me, you have to put up a building. And I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I was like a deer in headlights. So when I leave and I find out what's going on, but I asked him when we're there, I said, what can I put up? I said, because I don't have the room, you're going to cripple my business. And he said, a building, or you can move all your stock someplace else, and when you need it, you can come and get it. Those were his answers. Okay. So then I got Wes and we went back and we had a second meeting. And I said, can I put a shelter, a canvas shelter? No. Can I put an aluminum shelter like I had? No. Can I try for a variance? So when I put the building up, there's enough room for me to put something up so I don't cripple my business. Well, you could try that. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but you'll never get it. That's why we're here tonight, because those were the answers that I was given. No matter what anyone says, I swear to God.
Mhm.
That's why I'm here. I'm not looking to fight the board or the city. I've been here 24 years.
I understand.
Okay. I'm just trying to run our business.
Right.
And I don't want to be crippled because of something I don't need, which is a parking spot.
Right.
Why didn't I go? Because no one ever said anything to us about it. I had 2 violation officers.
Mhm.
One maybe paint the wall because it had rust on it. And the other one walked through and said, yeah, I'll see you some other time.
Mm.
Those are the only violation officers that came. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, code enforcement is arbitrary sometimes because there's sort of a human factor of who gets, cited doing what. It's like some people get parking tickets, some people don't, just because the meter maid's around or not around. So I do understand that. And oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think for me, nobody's looking to cripple your business because that would be horrible. I'm a business person here as well in Lake Worth Beach. The question though, I was trying to see if there was a workaround, if you could get something with the plan that you could shift some of these things around and try to do something with the staff. So I don't know. I mean, it's in a tough position the way I see it. Yes, sir.
One more thing.
Mhm.
We asked Mr. Fogel
Mhm.
what he would want.
Mhm.
What would he accept? Okay, because I have to have an architect draw it. It has to
Absolutely.
be presented. I
Mhm.
spent money to get there to do that. And he just said, just draw something up and present it. That was kind of his answer, which means I could have drawn something. He could have said no. They never gave us any specific building, windows, water, electric, nothing.
I understand.
Okay, all they said was, we know what we're doing. And that's in the email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the biggest thing is that you're not the only person with this type of issue. And if somebody comes up with a non-conforming building that has violations and things, we have to follow what it is to either remedy that or to enforce what the city has put forward. And that's why we're here on the board. So What I would ask of the staff is there any way that Mr. Padron could come and resolve his issues on his existing site without him being completely overwhelmed financially and in a pretty fair way? Now, at the same time, Mr. Padron, you have to admit that I believe that in both instances, whether we have the old part of the code or the new part on the LDRs, was it in compliance in either one of those? Like the storage? No, right? Because before it had just the little corner.
The little corner was, yeah, and it's,
And
right.
that was the only thing, and it was out of conformance. And then the other thing was also out of conformance. So, yeah. I don't know, to get a happy ending here, I think there has to be a meeting of the minds, and to see what we can put forth. Because what I'm seeing at the moment is that, yes, there'd been some code violations and the thing moved forward and nobody really stopped it. Now we ended up here, okay? So I would suggest, because knowing other business partners and people here in like with Beach, I think it would be best to see if we could give it a stab so that you can try to resolve something with the site plan and his storage needs. Is that something that we could do and push this to another meeting?
Yeah, that's something we've been trying to do, just in response to Mr. Petrona's comments about Mr. Fogel, who is no longer with the city. The idea was to have the applicant provide a conceptual, and maybe it wasn't communicated that way, but staff will typically get a plan in,
No, I understand.
and take a look at it. I'm just explaining it for everybody's else's information. And it's not meant to say yes or no, but we do, often send it to the other departments for review. I think what we were looking for at the time was give us something we can look at and we can provide comments to, and we can work with you to try to resolve this.
Okay, Mr. Padron, I just have a question for you. Would you not be willing to get your architect to sketch something up that would be reasonable to yourself, that he could look through the code and say, well, could we do this way? Because to be honest, the way I'm seeing it now, the things are really not stacked up so great on your side to keep that lot the way that it is, okay? So I think if you would like to keep that there, I think it's in your best interest to have this meeting, maybe push forward, and then come up with something with the staff so that you can operate the way you're doing it. This is just a suggestion. If not, we can. Mhm.
We tried to do that. Got a quote on the steel building?
Mhm.
We had tried to do that, and we got, you know what we're doing, and you deal with it kind of an attitude, and that's where, and I'm sorry, I have the,
Mhm.
okay? And I'm not picking on anyone, I don't want to throw any stones. I want to stay there for maybe the next 24 years,
Gotcha.
okay? I mean, people up and down that block, and I know Mr. Rodriguez doesn't want to hear that, but they have canvas coverings. They have outdoor storage. I don't care. If they want me to put up something, I don't know that a building works because of size. We don't have the room. Would the board be willing to give us a variance of 2 or 3 foot?
Another process, but you'd have to go through that as well. Yeah. No, and I can't just give you a variance. It's just not something I can do. Right.
Just,
Yeah.
it's my observation that the easiest answer is to approve our application for this appeal. And then everyone goes home and the condition remains the same. The property is not hurting anyone. You saw the screening of from the adjacent neighbors. And it looks like a residential house on the south.
And if I
So-
could,
You're good.
I say, it might be the easy answer, but it's not the right answer. And I think you're talking about the right track. This really is a denial. I'm hearing an olive branch being extended by both the board and the city. Maybe you guys should consider taking the olive branch and not hit us over the head with it.
I've asked for that out.
Well, it's saying it right now, and you're saying no.
No, I'm
You're
not
saying-
saying, no, I'm saying I was told no.
So I
By a
just
guy
wanna
that's not
circle
there
back
anymore.
real quick to, this is the appeal of the DRO decision. So in that DRO decision letter, it was established that, we could accommodate some additional storage use. It just has to be in buildings, which would make it not and expansion of outdoor storage, because it'd be inside. So if we, staff recommends that we stick with the interpretation in this letter.
I understand.
If that interpretation is stuck with, they would not have to come back to you. We don't have to continue this to another meeting. This would be a staff level process. I just wanted to clarify that real quick.
It just, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with specifically the issue that the applicant is saying, I didn't request this. And by that, Mr. Blackman, and you guys saying uphold this letter. And from reading what he submitted in writing, it does not indicate that he requested that. It does indicate that he requested a review to see whether or not this was non-conforming. And I do not see a response from the city as to whether or not it's non-conforming. So it's kind of weird. You've got one person saying, hey, is this an apple? And then you've got a letter saying, yes, we confirm it's an orange. And now we have to somehow decide whether to appeal the decision that it's an orange when nobody, it just seems weird to me because so
if you go back to, I think Mr. Blackman provided everyone with the original zoning letter application. So if you look at that, their project name, description of work, all of that is referring to outdoor storage as well as the non-conforming use. So the outdoor storage has kind of been woven in throughout this whole discussion. So that's really where, you know, that started getting
Sure.
woven in. You know, the outdoor storage is the approved section of outdoor storage is a non-conforming use. What staff has been referring to as the expanded outdoor storage, that's what we were determining in there is not an approved non-conforming use.
I 100% understand the distinction between what you're saying was originally approved in the site plan and what they're using now. And I believe that in the narrative, you know, they're saying that this has existed since 2016. And basically they're saying that they expanded into those parking spaces at a time when it was allowed and that they would like you to review it and see if it was conforming at the time that it was done. And I have not seen a response that says as simple as if that DRO letter said, we have reviewed it and based upon the evidence that we've seen when this was expanded, it was non-conforming all the way back in 2006.
So
And then that would answer that question that was formally asked by the applicant.
if you look at, let's see, in the letter, the second paragraph down from those bullet points, that's where it talks about that 2004 site plan and that small area being the only approved area for outdoor storage. And it talks about, you know, we've not gotten any additional documentation for approval of other outdoor storage areas. So I think that's where it gets to what you're talking about. In the letter, it's saying, this is the approved area. There is no other approved area. So anything beyond that approved area was never approved and it's not an allowable use.
Okay, so you believe that the letter is, even though it doesn't directly state it, it is specifically saying that it was, when it was done, when it was expanded, they were wrong back in 2006 when it was heavy industrial. And even at that time, it was non-conforming and they shouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
Wouldn't the code reveal that anyway? From the previous code that it was non-conforming, the use? Or that the code violation would have existed then, the previous code, right?
Well, I believe that at the time, the code, you know, would just address, as Annie had pointed out, that anything that's going to go beyond the approved site plan would have to be addressed.
So that's it.
So
Okay.
my thinking on this issue is they're the appellant. The city is not going to say what the code did or did not say at some random year. I mean, they're making the case. So they have to lay out that argument that they could have done it by right in 2009 or something along those lines. But we're asking the city, is that correct? And they're like, you know, they're not going to give us a yes or no answer on that.
I hear what you're saying, and I almost feel the opposite. And I'm not a lawyer, but to me, if this is an action being brought by the city through code enforcement, and they're saying that this is a violation, that it would be on them to show that it.
Well, this is not a
it.
defense to code enforcement proceedings. They are appealing William Waters' letter. I mean, that's literally what they're doing. This is not a special magistrate. I mean, if they wanted to argue that at code enforcement, you know, that's for them to just determine. If they want to file a variance, that's for them to determine. But based on what the issue is here tonight, I see that as the appeal of William's letter. And to me, it's a reasonable interpretation of what's going on.
What would happen if the letter, just lay it out for me, if we approve the letter, then it's standing that they would not be able to have outdoor storage and they'd have to apply for a site plan amendment for some sort of enclosure. To do
Yes.
that, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and if we deny it, what does that mean? I mean, code enforcement could still carry through a code enforcement action on them, right? Or did this,
Well, if you deny it, we actually put in some language in the motion that may resolve this. But this is, again, something that the board can consider if you decide to, deny it.
if we were, I just don't understand what that even means. Like, if we deny the letter, it doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't make them legal. We're not, I don't understand. Can you help me understand?
I think that's, all of us is feeling that way right now. We don't quite understand.
I don't.
I don't, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not speaking for the board, but I just don't quite understand how we can move forward with this.
I'm confused with the whole, that the property includes material laydown yard. I've never heard that term. And I've been up here a long time. It's either been outdoor storage or not, and material laydown, I don't even know what the hell that is. That's like if you're pulling an order and laying it there to pick up another time. I don't even know where this. It seems like it's always been outdoor storage.
I mean, I'm personally, like, I grew up in Jersey, and there's an area where I grew up where there's a lot of commercial spaces, and I've seen marble and tile outside. So when I saw the pictures, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what they're doing. I mean, I kind of, in my personal opinion, I kind of want to see if there's a way that they can keep doing what they're doing, because it's screened in. I mean, I understand with the code changes and the violation and such, I want us to come to a resolution where you can still keep it the way that it is. I mean, obviously you built something at some point because you thought maybe weather was an issue. Is that no longer going to be an issue? Like,
well, I took it down, so there's nothing against us except this. I would like to put it back up, and may I suggest this to the board? If we're allowed to continue working as we have, we submit a drawing or a rendering, not a physical architectural plan of what we could do that we think fits and is being used in the neighborhood. We could submit it to planning and zoning, and we can work that out to what we need, and we'll be happy to put it up. Because in all honesty, we're only talking about 35 foot by 10 foot. Okay.
and I understand that you didn't have a really good relationship with whoever is no longer here, but just keep that in mind, that if the conversation does open up, you won't be dealing with that same person. Hopefully you'll have.
No, but I mean, I can talk to Mr. Rodriguez, I can bother him, text him, whatever. Hey, I got something, what about this? If he approves the stuff, then I can get it all drawn up legal, and then we can go forward. I don't really want to spend like $125,000, but I do want to stay in business. I have 2 sons. This is a 3rd generation business. 2 are going to college. They all have bills. It's, I am trying to work with everybody. But the original guy was not working. But he's not here, so I can say that.
It's my understanding that if we do deny the appeal, that there still is a chance to come in and do the amendment and do the plans and fix everything.
Yeah.
Which would be probably faster than tabling it and then seeing this again. Is that correct? Yes. So my words. Okay. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I just have a question on the schematic. Is the city requiring a building or a structure?
A building.
Okay, so any other questions from the board? No? All right, so,
I'm sorry, one last thing. He asked the question about structure versus building.
Mhm.
Is there a way for them to have a structure or is that just not?
So that was something that was in the letter as well that's being appealed, is that a building does need to have.
Is that? I was like. trying
Sure,
to-
it's the,
Oh, it's not.
on the backup.
Oh, okay, it's the one that I read through.
yeah, that December 5th letter. So a building needs to have walls and a roof. A
Yeah.
structure you can think of like, yeah, an awning or a pergola might not have walls.
Right.
Right.
And that would be something that's a little more amenable.
We cannot approve a structure.
Not for a hurricane, but if I can make it work within the variance of I don't have a problem. I never did. I just didn't know what a building, like I said.
permanent
But I'll
structure,
find out from Mr. Rodriguez.
yes. Okay, if there's nothing else from the board, we will be closing with any comments from the public. Would anybody like to come up and see?
Nick Petrona, I'm one of the owners there.
You have to come up there.
I mean, the only thing, it's gone over, we've done it forever.
Mm.
I guess the only thing I'd like to add is, it sounded like Evelyn sort of knew the business.
Mm.
One thing maybe everyone doesn't understand is, let's just say it goes back to that and there's no resolution or we get cut back. We can't run our business out of there. I mean, immediately going back, people are gonna lose their jobs. I might lose my house, have to do something else. So for the kind of business that we run, we need a yard. We're happy to still have parking spaces on the inside. We're happy to rearrange and do all that.
Right.
The building is complicated because there's not a lot of space there. You're talking about putting up a new steel building, over, like you said, a 12-foot by 30-foot section of the parking lot. There was some adjacent on that storage where there's nothing written on the site plan, wasn't brought up, where we've had storage since the earliest photos. Not, that blank area to the south side, it's just a wall there. And so on that site, they have the orange. If we need the plenty of parking spaces, along that south side wall from the gate down, so underneath the orange all the way to the right. There's nothing there, there's nothing even kind of written there. There's no parking spaces there. I can't see where under the original 2004 industrial that wouldn't have been storage. Yeah, that area right there, in front of the dumpster all the way to the gate.
I think that's the dumpster that's to get to the dumpster.
The city won't even let us put the dumpster there. The dumpster's moved.
I understand.
So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is this decision could literally, I mean, it could be, it affects our business, not spend it like we don't, you have it, we'll spend money because I'll take a loan to spend money because if we can't operate out of there, I'm gonna lose my job. My guys are gonna lose their jobs. I might lose my house. It's like that. So this isn't like we have something unsightly that we want to keep for no reason.
Right.
We try to maintain it, we keep it good, but I want everyone to know how integral some storage outside is, and we're willing to compromise, we're willing to build, do whatever.
Mhm.
But without having what we need, it is going to
I understand.
cost people their jobs.
Okay. All right. I think, well, go ahead if you want to say something.
My name is Erin Allen and I live at 208 South Lakeside Drive. I am the chairperson of the Business Advisory Board here. Really created. I mean, unless I'm missing something here, it seems like these people have been caught in an undertow of unintentional consequences due to a zoning change.
Mhm.
And we talk about being more business friendly here in the city. And I think this is an opportunity for the city to show that they can be intentionally business friendly. These people have been here for 15 years. They're a good business. They've been a good neighbor. And it's not lost on me that they had to pay to have Mr. Blackman come here and represent them here tonight because this couldn't be resolved at a staff level. And that doesn't feel very business friendly to me. So I'm hoping that you guys can work through this and work with them.
Absolutely. Again, I guess that's it for the meeting. I would like to say that the quickest way, believe it or not, to work with the staff would be basically, if you ask me, to continue with what Mr. Waters had written and basically go back to them and say, what can we do now? Because I think even denying, basically saying, no, it's wrong, throws us back into another spin of who does what and what's going on with the code, right? So I believe that there's several avenues for you to come back and just go to them tomorrow, if you'd like, one way or another, and resolve the problem. But going outside of the code and going outside of what has been written for the new planning and zoning regulations is just not going to fly. So anyway, okay. Anything else from the board? All right. Do we have a motion?
So what's the motion going to be, denying it, right?
Well, we haven't, no one's made a motion. I can make a motion. Just based on reading, kind of listening to what my colleagues have said. I will move to deny PZB project 24-124-00001, an appeal of the DRO official, or excuse me, the development review official's decision interpreting LDR section 23.2-8, 23.4-19, and 23.1-8 in a manner consistent with the developmental review official's decision.
Have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. Nay.
Okay.
So the procedural question, at the end of Mr. Waters' letter, it indicated, or the staff report, it indicated that this could be appealed to the city commission. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I saw that at the bottom of the.
Correct.
And I know the time requirements are listed in the code. Is there a supermajority requirement in this? I know there is.
I don't have to ask this, the attorney.
I don't know. We would just hope that you would follow the chairs and the board's lead and work with staff and resolve
Wes,
this.
They could call tomorrow and resolve it, I believe, somehow. Yeah.
Staff.
Yeah.
Follow through, but I just want to be clear on all the paths going forward.
I understand. I understand.
Just being responsible.
No, it's okay.
So, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Scott Rodriguez with Planning and Zoning. Excuse me. The item before you is a request for consideration of a major site plan for the development of an office building and additional site improvements, including a sustainable bonus request for bonus height of 1 story to allow a 3-story building, as well as a bonus request for floor area ratio. The site is located on the southeast corner of South Dixie Highway and 7th Avenue South, and is within the mixed-use Dixie Highway zoning district, zoning district, and the site is currently vacant. The applicant is proposing a 3-story office use development, a law office, And it is going to be designed with ground level parking lot and offices on the second and third floors. The building is designed in a contemporary architectural style with large vertically proportioned windows, smooth stucco, and cementitious exterior finish, decorative aluminum detailing, flat roof, and eyebrow details that we'll have a rendering a little later on in the presentation. So the next few slides are really just going to show the plan itself. And here we have the site plan and the first and second floor plans, and the third floor. This is a landscape plan that has been approved with no additional revisions or comments or conditions in the staff report. And here are the elevations of the building. And we'll get into the renderings. As you'll see, the applicant has done a really good job at engaging the corner and has done everything they can to comply with LDRs, including the third floor setback that is required. And then you see the parking, and there's another rendering. The proposed use and site improvements will not negatively affect the existing surrounding properties and uses, and the proposed changes are harmonious and compatible.
Sorry, my bad.
This is just showing the areas that are abutting the subject site. Yep. So the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, the major thoroughfare design guidelines, city's LDRs, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant, the project manager is here. If you have any questions, I don't believe they have a presentation. So if you want to ask us or the.
What are the conditions that we're asking for? Can you just walk us through them?
Sure. You want to go to the slide, the conditions? So what we've done is we've coordinated with the project manager, the architect, to address some conditions. One of them, do you want to talk about the fees, or you want to talk about the? Okay.
Things that would affect pretty much the environment that it's in, and you said the setbacks on the third floor and things.
No, they're in compliance. We just worked with them prior to the meeting to hit that third floor setback. And really the minor site plan, which we're hoping for more of a modification rather than an amendment. That's a difference in process. A modification can run concurrent with the building permit. The amendment is a new zoning process. So we had a couple of conditions. One was the planning and zoning, what I think are minor. One of them was the impermeable calculations, and we had initially, as the staff report indicates, exceeds the maximum, by quite a bit. Right. So we did recalculate that. We're going to coordinate with the applicant, and I think we're going to get to that 65% max, which is going to be incorporated into a minor site plan mod.
So did you say 65%?
I believe that's max for the zoning.
I thought it was 70, no? 70.
No, I don't believe so. I think it's 65.
Oh.
It's hard to do with the abstract parking in that sense, and you've got in and out.
I thought it was 70 or even 80, depending on commercial property, no?
No. It's based on the zoning district regulation.
I know that, yes.
The next use.
65.
Like can't do like residential.
Yeah, you can. We had meetings with the architect and try to encourage a residential unit to work that out, but they decided to go with the in lieu fee rather than rather than developing the site with a residential unit to accommodate the mixed use portion for an affordable housing unit. They opted not to do that, so they decided to pay the fee instead.
Just a question, Scott. Is this a 2-story or a 3-story? I mean, because it's the sustainable program is for an additional 3 stories, but the office space is really
2 floors according to his website.
It's a 3-story and the request for the sustainable bonus is for 1 additional story.
Is that where you're going from 30 feet and adding an additional 5 feet?
Yes.
But if this is just gonna be a lawyer's office, why aren't they using a space that's already? Aren't there a lot of? For example.
I'm going to defer to the project manager on that one. I think this is just a site that they had chosen and they've been working with staff for about a year now.
She has to be sworn in.
You have to be sworn in.
Yeah.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
So he owns the site, he wants to develop it. The owner of the law office owns the site, he's right here. Yeah, I mean, have you walked around the neighborhood? I know you had like a meeting and it was only a virtual meeting, so you didn't have like an actual sit down with the people in the neighborhood. I'm just wondering, you know, because I was living in that area and I actually walked around the area today. And I mean, in my personal opinion, I think the fact that it doesn't have a structure on it, I just feel like that land could be better used, in my opinion. Especially if it's just a law office. And I don't know, I know it's on Dixie, but there's like really nice smaller houses just on the other side. And the sun that was coming down was very nice. And I just feel it's unfortunate that this might be there.
Maybe he has like 20 support staff. It looks great.
I just feel like there's existing spaces that aren't being utilized and something better to be there.
I understand your issue, but I think it's a very attractive building.
Right.
It is.
I think it's outside of
Yeah.
our scope to really figure out.
I'm from Jersey too, so I know. Me, I live in volume there.
Better in terms of the aesthetic. And I think that me personally, since I've been on here, this has come up so many times that the design has already been approved prior to it getting here, and I think that's a shame. And I know I brought it up, you know, you weren't here with the other woman. But yeah, that's just been it keeps coming up.
Right, but my big thing is, I think it's out of our scope to see where people should buy property, because that's probably not for us to say.
No, I know, but I just
So,
wanted to make. something
yeah,
clear.
it's okay. I understand. Okay,
I think that, you know, with regards to vacant or occupied properties, sometimes it's the development of vacant properties that kind of gives incentive to the owners of unoccupied properties to maybe lower their rents and maybe get some of those vacancy filled. I think sometimes new development spurs things to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that vacant lots on commercial streets, particularly Dixie, it's important to kind of to develop on those vacant lots. And I think a lot of parks and stuff like that. With regards to the overall design and stuff, I would say, and this is just kind of a general thing, but I've been in this situation before as well, where I think it would be nice if we as a board are open to applicants coming in that have not formally finished their stuff with the city. And I know we can't vote on anything, but just to say, hey, I want to let you all know, here's something that we've got coming down the pipeline. Because a lot of times there is a tremendous amount of dialogue between staff and the applicant before it ever gets to us. And at that point, they may have done 2 or 3 different design iterations. They may be pretty far along, and it's the first time that we're seeing it. So if you have opinion on design stuff, and if somebody wanted to, I think as a board, we're always open to that. But maybe making that more publicly known, that that's available for people to come in and say, hey, I'm in the early stages, but this is what I'm thinking. I know, what do you think about that? I know that's a weird one, but
I guess, you know, as these projects come in, the board can ask us
anytime.
at any time, you know, what's the status, you know, what are the conceptuals?
It's also kind of arbitrary in the sense that a lot of things don't happen. So someone comes in twice and then never shows up again and says, well, this is not going to happen. And then we've looked at a bunch of things that are never even going to get past the staff. So A lot of projects come in like that, and it's tough for us to keep up on all that. And then you may see it, but I might not, right? So this is all set up for a reason, the way it is. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and sunshine, I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
No, I'm saying that they would do it not individually with us, but like, and it might be something that
but it'd have to be noticed. It'd have to be
Yeah.
adequately noticed, and we're adding an extra time for them to have to notice that they're coming here and talking.
would it have to be adequate? If somebody came in and just during public comment said, hey, I just wanted to give you all a copy.
Well,
of this
if it
thing."
wasn't adequately noticed, then it's a sunshine issue. It's ex parte.
So this is, and I realized I didn't really introduce myself. Hi, I'm Annie. I'm the
If,
senior
if we're
preservation planner.
considering.
So I work with the Historic Resources Preservation Board, your guys' kind of brother board.
Mhm.
We do something where we, give the applicants an opportunity to do a conceptual review in front of the board. It is not in the, business items. It's in, a separate section of the agenda, so it doesn't get, a sign posting or a legal notice or something like that. It doesn't have to. It's a non-binding discussion, basically, between the board and the applicants, to go over conceptual plans. That is something that you could do, but I think I don't know who it was who pointed it out, that would add additional time and process to an
Yes.
applicant's submittal.
And
But it
many-
is something that it's a process that exists.
I mean, a lot of the projects we see here don't come to fruition, right? So imagine adding another caseload onto us, basically on things that people just say, well, maybe I may want to do this, maybe I may not. And it's just more for us.
I understand what you're saying. And I think that what Evelyn was saying, what I kind of have experienced before is that
Mhm.
I have, I'm not in Lake Worth, in another municipality. I've presented something, dealt with staff where they've told me, well, this is what we want you to change. And this is how we want the building to look. And then you're up in front of the board and the board is like, oh, I don't really like this. I wish you would have done this. And I'm like, man, that's what I had the first time. And I really wished so sometimes, you're going through and you're changing things.
I mean,
I
at
think
that
that
point,
if someone wanted to do that and said staff was telling them, we'd like to see, this ultra modern, and you're like, well, I really want to do traditional. If they said, can I just meet with the board unofficially? And if they're allowed to do that with historic preservation and they chose to do it, I think we should be open to it.
Personally, when I was.
It would be their choice.
There were plenty of times that we had to go back to the drawing board because the aesthetic didn't fit Montclair, for example. And I know it takes time, but the reason why I'm here is so we can keep the charm of Lake Worth Beach. That's really why I'm here, because I love the city so much and I just don't want it to on that street. We already got a Checkers, we got Walgreens, we got a gas station. Like, I don't see this as a positive aesthetically. So.
okay.
I have a quick educational question for myself. I know last meeting we were at, there was a multifamily and we required them to have cameras, security cameras. Is that the same for businesses or is that just for residential?
Generally, that's just for residential.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other board comments? It's a very nice building. All right, do we hear a motion?
I'll go ahead and give a motion. I move to approve with conditions the major site and sustainable bonus incentive program request to construct an office building at 702 South Dixie Highway based upon the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and in the testimony at the hearing.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. Congratulations. Nice building. Okay, planning issues. You guys always have planning issues. Tell us all about them.
I don't think we have any, but moving on to next month, we do have the continuance of Sunset Drive.
Right,
And I do believe we'll have another item so far, conditional use permit on the agenda.
great. Okay, thank you. Public comments? Public, would you like to say anything? I don't think so. There's anybody there. Okay, department reports. Do we have anything in reports? No? Board member, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we got a new person here and
Hi.
new, but you're not the normal.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm the senior preservation planner, so I'm kind of the equivalent of Abe, but in historic preservation. So I won't be here all the time, but I might pop in from time to time until we get his position filled.
Got it.
And Glenn Tarsivian, and I'm just pitch hitting for Elizabeth every once in a while.
Okay, I got it.
Let us spend some time at home once in a while, you
All
know?
right. Got it. Great. All right. Board member comments. A lovely board. Any comments? Okay. We are